welcome again. I thought today, or tonight, or this afternoon, whenever you're joining me, we'd focus on wrist and ankle strength, toes, fingers, the sort of parts of our practice, the parts of the body we use a lot to support us with whether we're moving around on mats or balancing, and we sometimes forget how important they are. So we're going to remind ourselves about those areas today, and I hope you enjoy refinding your wrists and your ankles and your toes and your fingers. Right, okay, so we'll start by lying back in Shavasana. So just making your way onto your mat. Usual, if your legs aren't, if back isn't comfy with your legs straight, you can have your legs bent and just tent your knees together. Otherwise, legs in a long V shape. Arms down by the sides of the body, palms facing up. Take a minute to adjust and find your most comfortable place where you can relax and try and avoid too much movement as you begin to draw your mind onto your breath. So the events of your day or your morning or whatever time you've had to yourself or with others may have had an impact on your breath itself. So just observing the breath when you first lie down, allowing it to be what it is, without trying to make it be what you think it should be. Your breath might be high up in the chest. Perhaps you haven't even decided where your breath is yet. You may just feel that the body is breathing in and out without that special awareness that perhaps comes with just a few moments of stillness on your mat. And once you begin to let go of holding that you may not even know you're doing, but you'll begin to feel your body just melting down a little bit more towards the surface you're lying on. Maybe even the weight of your body increasing against that surface. And while you're lying here with your breath and your body softly breathing, begin to make little circles with your wrists, your ankles, one way than the other. Spread your toes, your fingers, and kind of curl your toes and squeeze your hands into a fist, and open and close your hands and uncurl and curl your toes a few times. And relax again. So just to bring the mind into a more aware place with regards to the body, bringing the legs together along the length of your mat. Arms come into the sides of the body, palms resting on the mat this time. We're just going to lift the right leg, just the right leg, about 6 inches up. And just notice how that shifts, how the breath moves in the body. Notice the weight of your leg. Maybe a little shaking, even with this subtle kind of movement, just a few inches of lift of the leg away from the mat. And slowly release it down. Once your heel's down, relax completely. Same thing on the other side. So we're lifting the left leg about 6 inches. Just enough really so that you can feel your tummy having to work a little bit for you. You're aware of the weight of your leg. And perhaps how the breath shifts to accommodate the support that your body is giving to the lifting of the leg. And softly and gently release the heel, the leg, and relax. Good. So let's just bend the legs and pop the knees onto the chest. And while you're squeezing the knees in, again just make little movements with your feet, your ankles. And then release your arms, stretching your arms up towards the ceiling and the legs also. Just begin to shake the wrists, the ankles. Really give them a good shake out. Relax. Maybe again that little roll through the fingers and the toes. And let's just point the toes up, relax your arms for a moment. Pull the toes towards you, toes up, and the toes back towards you. Your legs can be softly bent or a lot bent. It's more about the movement through the ankles and the toes and feet. Well done. Release. Pop your feet down one at a time. Just take a nice breath in here. Let it go through the mouth. And take a moment to roll to one side and come up onto your hands and knees. So just spreading the hands into the floor, knees more or less under the hips. Try and sort of hide your heels, if you like, behind the back of your knees so that the heels aren't falling in or falling out. And your neck is in line with the rest of your spine. So we're avoiding kind of hanging down in what I call woe is me pose. Ooh. So, shoulders up, back and down. We're going to incorporate the feet again in cat. So as you breathe in, tuck your toes, press down through your hands, pull back through your hands to draw your chest forwards, tailbone up, then exhale, flatten off your feet, tuck your tail and tuck your chin. Again, still pressing into the floor with your hands, but breathe in and breathe out. Real awareness of the feet here, breathe in, breathe out. Breathing in, breathing out. One more, breathe in, breathe out. Good. And softly and gently tilt that tailbone up, the sitting bones up, and slowly sit your hips back onto your heels. And coming up onto the tips of your fingers and your thumbs, walking your hands forwards, and allowing the head to drop down towards the mat. And if you're finding it a challenge to get your head down, you can always support your head on a brick or a cushion. And by the way, I mean a yoga brick, not a building brick. Good. One more breath here. Then flatten your palms and come up. So we're going to do the same movements that we did a moment ago, that cat movement, but reversing the hand position. So if you turn your hands out towards the long edges of your mat, and then turn your hands again, so your fingers are pointing as much as they can towards your knees. Bring your knees a little bit further forwards, so there's less of a straight line down hip to knee, more of a diagonal line. We're going to tuck the toes again. Breathe in and breathe out. And again, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Two more, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, and breathing out. Readjust your knees. Gently take a moment just to release those wrists. Good. Separate your hands about shoulder width, tuck your toes, and make your way up to downward dog. So we're going to walk the dog, or walk in place, bend one leg, keep the other leg straight. Just side to side, so one side then the other. Don't forget that your heels might not be comfortably touching the mat or be near the mat. So even if your heels are high, you're still bending one leg and straightening the other to encourage the heels to work their way a little lower down. Good. So coming to downward dog. Bring your feet together at the back of the mat. So either feet down or breathe in, right leg up. Exhale, step your right foot forwards, left knee down. So there's no obligation for you to lift your leg really, really high today. Just swing it back behind you as much or as little as you'd like. Untuck your back toes. Good. Coming onto the fingertips of both hands here. Good. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, firm up through that back foot and see if you can get that knee up off the mat. Use the abdominal support here, so navel to spine, ribcage drawn in. Neck is still in line with the rest of the spine. Well done. Release the knee, re-tuck the back toes, plant your palms down and step back down with them. Good. So go back to pedaling those heels, but just a little bit more time on each side. And I can allow the elbow to sort of soften down and the hip, so kind of swaying from side to side. Good. Same thing again, feet together at the back of the mat. Bring the feet down, or lift the left leg just a little bit, and then step that forward, foot forwards. Right knee touches down this time. Untuck the back toes, coming up onto the fingertips and the thumb tips. And just to remind you, we're looking to be right on top, like a kind of crab hand here, rather than this position, which over time is really going to hurt your fingers. So it's either, if you find it a challenge to be here, palm flat. Okay, so this one or this one, avoiding this one. Good. So back foot is pressing. Take a breath in as you breathe out. Firm up through the back foot, press it firmly into the mat and see if you can get that knee up. So, of course, we're using the strength here in this leg and the glutes as well, but a little bit of support from the navel to take some of the weight from this thigh bone away from the movement. Heavy bone, this big heavy bone. Good, release, pop the knee down, tuck the back toes, reposition your palms, step back down and dog. This time we're just going to breathe in, lift the heels really high, and exhale with a sigh, release them down. And again, breathe in, lift, breathe out, release. 3 more, breathe in. 2 more. Last one. This time as you exhale, softly release your knees, untuck your toes, and make your way forwards and down, all the way down, so your forehead lightly touches down on the floor. Then reposition your forearms, elbows under shoulders. So now you're in Sphinx pose. We're going to activate the feet again, so starting to press into the tops of the feet. Now what we're aiming to do is try and encourage all of the toes to be involved. And again, just have that little look to check that your heels aren't flopping out or flopping in. So they're in line more or less with your back of your knee or your sitting bone. Good. So firming up through the feet, so you may find that your knees clear the mat so they may lift. And then start to press down through your forearms and sort of drag back without the arms and hands moving. Chest broadens. So keep that going, but change the foot position. Tuck your toes and start to press the heels away. If this is too much for you in your back, go back to tops of the feet on the floor. A little turn of the head from side to side. And relax the knees, release the toes. Swing your hands in, one on top of the other, elbows out. Gently release your forehead to your hands. So we try and observe the weight of the body here like we do right at the beginning or the end of our time together. So it's a similar feel to Shavasana when we lie on our backs. You're releasing the whole of your body into the support of the surface you're on. And we're going to swing those elbows in, hands just forward of the shoulders, press up and back to child's pose. This time we're going to take the backs of the hands onto the floor. Just a nice release around the upper back, shoulders. You probably find your head's a little higher here. But as long as your neck's okay, you can start to release it down. Again, you can use a support for your head if you wish. Good, so breathing into your hands and knees, we're going to tuck the toes again and sit back onto the heels. We're going to double check that the little toes are also in there. Sometimes they ping out. So we're going to tuck them under. So for many people, this is a strong place to be. If you find it too much to have your body over your heels, come forwards a little bit, maybe onto your fingertips. Kind of the next phase or the next level will be a little bit more upright. Finally, you're completely upright. Shoulders up, back and down. Maybe interlink the hands behind you and reach your knuckles towards the back of your mat. Broaden across your chest. Maybe lift the chin. And now just sort of lean back a little bit so you've got a little bit more weight coming down into the feet, the toes. One more breath here. Good. Bring the head back to that center position. Relax your hands. Lean forwards onto your hands regardless of where you are. Untuck your toes, which should feel really good. And then sit back onto your heels. So I'm just going to offer you a chance to go a little deeper into the front of the ankle. So from the side, I'll show you from where I am. We'll lean into the left hand. You can have your hand positioned wherever it's the most comfortable. Scooping your right knee in your right hand. We're going to lean back and use the hand to lift that knee up off the floor. So the front of the foot's getting quite a strong release here. So if it's too much for you, I would suggest just sitting on your heels as we are now with the toes facing back. Release, and then other side. So leaning onto your right hand, use your left hand as a scoop around your left knee, lift it up. And release, good. So let's try and go a little deeper with that movement. We'll come up onto the hands, but the knees are together and slightly more forward than under the hips again. Keeping the feet flat as they are. Take a breath in here, a bit like cat. Exhale round, press into your hands, press into the tops of your feet. And see if you can either just feel like the knees are getting lighter, or you can get a little bit of lift in the knees. Come back down as you breathe in. And breathe out, same movement. Now to go a little deeper, you bring your hands back towards you. So same action, but a little bit of a higher lift. Use those abdominal muscles to help. Good, we're going to do that one more time. And you're going to stay up in your maximum lift position, whatever that is. We're going to hold it for a couple of breaths. Mind you don't get cramp. And then release. Tuck your toes again. Just for a second, sit back on the heels with your hands resting on your thighs. Make sure your little toes are tucked under. Close your eyes and take a few breaths. Well done. So releasing your toes, so we're back on all fours where the knees are under the hips, wrists under the shoulders. We're going to work with plank pose. So we'll start in knee plank. So we want to firm up through that navel centre. Rib cage kind of drawing in towards itself and the spine. And we're going to take the knees back about 6 inches. Old money. Okay. So this is fine and you can hang out here. We're going to aim to do the top of one foot and alternative fingertips. Alright? Alternative fingertips. Slide your left foot back but keep the top of the foot on the floor and then come up onto the tips of your right fingers and your right thumb. Try and keep your hips level, a bit more of a challenge. And release. Other side. Slide your right foot back but keep the top of the foot on the floor. Come up onto the fingertips of the left hand. Hips level again. Well done. Okay. Release. Both sets of fingertips. So we're staying knee plank, so come up onto the tips of your left fingertips and the tips of your right fingertips. Leaning forward, so bringing the shoulders over the wrists. Navel to spine, maybe take those knees a little bit further back without your shoulders and hips following you. Release. So we know what's coming. Slide the left foot back, firm up through the foot. Slide the right foot back, firm up through the foot. Long, deep breathing. Looking down really, probably at the space between your hands, or maybe slightly forwards. Then softly release the knees, sit back on the heels, extended child's pose, so arms by the ears, and just give those wrists a little bit of a massage. Maybe squeeze palms of the hands, the fingers, and rock forward slightly so you can then touch your toes once more, sitting back on the heels. Have a little wiggle. And untuck the toes. Well, let's have child's pose for a moment. So forehead down if it's comfortable, or you can stack your fists one on top of the other. Take a few breaths as you continue to just settle into the moment. Then breathe into hands and knees and swinging those hips forwards and down, coming into cobra pose. So we start by laying ourselves down again, coming up onto the fingertips. So fingertips slightly wider, so rather than the hands in line with shoulders, they're more out to the side. We'll breathe in, we'll come up, shoulders follow us up. We stay up as we breathe out, elbows melt down to the floor. Well done. Just breathing here. Let's try shoulder roll, left shoulder, right shoulder, then reverse, left shoulder up, forwards and down, back shoulder up, forwards and down, right shoulder, both up, back and down. Let's just dip the left shoulder down and then come up. Then the right shoulder down and come up. Stay up for a breath, breathe in. Exhale. Let's lower on empty. Stack your hands again, one on top of the other, forehead down. Might be nice to bend the legs and just windscreen wiping them from side to side, side to side. A little bit of back strength here, so from the floor, you're going to interlink your hands, forehead down, and rest your hands on the back of your head. Firm up through the tops of your feet, so really firming up, pressing them firmly into the mat. As you lift the elbows away from the floor, then breathe in, lifting up. Exhale, lower down. Breathe in, lift. Exhale, lower down. One more, breathe in, lift. Stay up as you breathe out. Reposition your hands just forward of your shoulders. Then breathe in, lifting. We're going to aim to come to upward dog with knee support. So hips up here. Well done. Tuck your toes and make your way via plank to downward dog. Breathing in and maybe out through the mouth. So feet together at the back of the mat again. You can release that right leg up as you breathe in, or just keep your foot down, breathe in. Step your foot forwards. This time we're going to keep the knee up. So it's staying up, come onto the fingertips, and roll over onto the top of that left foot. Actually, it might be easy to put your knee down to do that. So please feel free to carry on and just repeat what we did earlier. If you want a bit more of a challenge, as you breathe in, take your arms out and up. Stay here as you breathe out. One more breath in, and exhale with control. Bring the hands down, release that knee, tuck the toes, step back, palms flat, downward dog. So a really deliberate kind of heel pedal here. It's more about the stretch through the toes rather than anything to the back of the legs. So just really working the toes into the mat. Settle into dog. Left leg up or not, breathe in. Step your foot forwards. Let's go. Knee down, untuck the right foot. Fingertips on the mat. Go press into the top of the right foot to release the knee. Firm up through the navel. Then breathe in, arms out and up. Exhale here. Fix the shoulder blades on the back. Breathe in. Breathe out. Touch down that knee. Tuck the toes. Step back, palms flat. Downward dog. Same thing with the heels. So it's about the squish of the toes. You really want to stretch those toes as if they were tucked under and you're sitting on your heels. Well done. So settle into dog. You can do this little stretch on hands and knees. A little bit more centering of the right hand. And then just shake your left wrist, your left hand off towards the outside of your left leg. Change, so reposition left hand where the right hand was. And do that little shake off on the other side. Well done. So, a little bit more of a challenge. We're going to come up onto the fingertips for downward dog. Good. We're going to move from downward dog to fingertip plank. So breathe in, breathe out. You can soften it by breathing in, knees down, shoulders over wrists, and then breathe out, back downward dog. And again, breathe in, breathe out, breathing in, breathing out. Coming through to fingertip plank, breathing in. Flatten the palms, but stay in plank as you breathe out. Flip over the toes. Retuck the toes. Fingertips. Downward dog. Flatten the palms. Take a few recovery breaths here, breathing in and out. And softly release the knees. Sit back on the heels. And either you can sit upright or you can do this little movement from child's pose. We're just going to do that nice little squeeze of the wrists. It's like you're trying to pull your hand off the end of your arm. So you pull, pull, and then you squeeze. When you're on your hands aloft, you get that kind of compression in that wrist joint there. So the little pulling just creates a bit more space there, and then we can give it a little bit of TLC. Good. So peak posture. We're going to come into plank, fingertips and top of the feet. So start from where we started before. So knees are coming back, heels are in line with the backs of the knees. You're bringing the hips forwards a little bit, but without collapsing down here. So lifting up and out of your shoulders as well. Good, so let's start where we were at the beginning. Slide the left foot away, top of the foot still on the floor. Come onto the fingertips of your right hand. Release. Same thing on the other side. Fingertips of the left hand, slide your right foot away, top of the foot on the floor. Release. Okay, here we go. Right fingertips, top of the left foot. Left fingertips, top of the right foot. Breathing here. One more breath. Then softly release the knees. Sitting on the heels again. Just find each finger of each hand. Just give them a little pull. Other side. You can interlink the hands, press the palms away, and the backs of the hands away, palms away, backs of the hands away. Well done. So we're going to make our way back onto our backs. So semi-supine is when we're lying down, but the legs are bent. So let's find semi-supine. Half lying down, I think that is semi-supine. So we go back to that nice little wrist and ankle shake out. So release the feet, release the arms, and just give everything a little bit of a shake. It's quite nice to pull your toes apart as well with your fingers if you fancy doing that. One forward, one back. Nice stretch and release for those hard working feet. And then release your feet down, keeping your legs bent. Or just let the arms kind of unfurl out to the sides, palms facing up. And we'll do a nice little movement, a nice twist, side to side, moving with the breath. So breathe in with your knees in the upright position. Exhale, knees to right, head to the left. Breathing back to the centre. Exhale, knees to the left, head to the right. And again, breathe in centre. Exhale, knees right, head left. Breathe into the centre. Exhale, knees left, head right. One more to each side, but we'll hold this. Breathe in. Exhale as you take your knees to the right, head to the left. Take a moment as you breathe to allow that left rib cage to soften. And trying to find as much of the back of that rib cage as you can, maybe bringing it a little closer towards the floor or into the floor. And breathe in, everything comes to the centre. Exhale, knees left, head right. Just take a moment to re-find the opposite ribcage to the right side now. Consciously releasing the back of the ribcage on the right side towards the mat or onto the mat or the floor. And breathing in, head and knees to the centre. As you exhale, just gently bring your knees onto your chest. And give yourself a nice big hug here, opposite hand to opposite elbow if it's for you. Otherwise, hand on the backs of the thighs or the shins is fine. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, we're going to curl up. And try and lead with your head rather than leave your head to last. Breathe in as you lower back down. Keep the squeeze on the knees though. Exhale as you curl up. Breathe in, lower down. Exhale, curling up. Breathe in, release your body and your head to the mat. And as you breathe out, we'll do that nice little sequential release. So exhale and release your right foot, leg bent, your right arm and hand, palm facing up, your left foot down, leg bent, your left arm and hand, palm up. Either tense your knees, walk your feet a little wider, or release your legs along the length of your mat into a nice V shape, feet falling out to the sides, palms facing the sky. A little roll of the head from side to side. As you bring your head back to the centre, just let's repeat those little ankle and wrist rotations. So both feet, both ankles, both wrists, one way than the other. And let's curl the toes away as we make a soft fist with the hands, and then pull the toes back towards us as we open the hands and spread the fingers. Soft fist, toes curl away. Spread the fingers, open the hands, toes towards you. Take a breath in and really pull the toes back, spread the fingers, lift the arms. Exhale through the mouth, and let everything go. Come right back to your breath. So finishing where we started, in stillness, and with the mind resting on the breath. allowing your body to simply breathe in and simply breathe out without effort, without thought. Allow your breath to breathe your body. One more breath. So softly blinking your eyes open if they were closed, so you're fully aware of your surroundings. Begin to make small movements with your fingers and toes once more, your wrists and your ankles. Just drawing the legs together along the length of the mat. As you breathe in and sweep your arms up. Exhale here with that audible sigh. Gently pop your knees onto your chest again. Give yourself another hug. A little rock from side to side, side to side. Coming back to the centre of your mat. Release one foot, then the other. Roll to whatever side feels good for you. And then come up so you're sitting comfortably on your mat. Hands together at your heart centre. Thank you for spending your time with me. Namaste.